All right, and welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, your franchise guide, and we have a very special guest today. We are speaking with Eddie Hill, and just a little bit about Eddie. Eddie is a best-selling author, speaker, small business coach, and entrepreneur, and owns multiple successful businesses, including Prosperous Internet Marketing. Eddie is known as the master of motivation. He's a natural cheerleader who inspires his audience with massive energy, humor, and a message of inspiration, motivation, and perspiration. No wonder the ARA International Awards Market named Eddie the Speaker of the Year twice. Eddie, welcome to the show.
All right. Well, I better pick up my energy with that intro. Thank you. I didn't know you were going to read all that. Thanks, Giuseppe. I appreciate you having me on.
No, very, very impressive bio, and I only read part of it, but yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining us today. We have a lot of corporate executives looking to make that leap into entrepreneurship. So very excited to have you. So tell us, just to give the audience a little bit of context, tell us a little bit about how you got into the current business you're in. And also, if you can also let us know about the book you're working on.
Yeah, excellent. I appreciate the open door. So I own, my wife and I, let me be clear. We own 4 businesses, 3 S corporations, 1 LLC, and we absolutely love it. So I guess you could say I'm a serial entrepreneur. My main one that I work at is an agency. It's an online digital marketing agency. Been around for about 11 years. It's called Prosperous Internet Marketing. And I love the word prosperous because I've named all the other businesses basically prosperous. So we've been moving with that. We do a lot with marketing. My whole background's in marketing degree. My degree's in broadcast communications with a minor in marketing. So I've always been that way. I've been in traditional media like radio for 14 years and all that. And so I've always kind of loved the marketing aspect of things. And then I think it was Al Gore invented the internet. And I was like, hey, this internet thing, it may be a fad, but I'm going to give it a shot. So one of the first things I did when I bought my first business was Google, how do I get to the top of Google? Which I'm sure a lot of people did. And this was like 2005. And of course, fast forward, I got good at all that stuff. And people started paying me to do that and had a bunch of national e-commerce sites and all kinds of things. So that kind of leads me to where I'm at today. I have 17 employees in this building for our agency, and we're growing a nice, multi-7-figure business. And I love helping small businesses grow. So that literally is my business plan. That's what every day we think about. How do we help our clients grow? Because if they grow, we'll be taken care of as well. That's kind of the philosophy. As far as the book, that's back to the Prosper theme. It's called Prosper Formula. And over the years, I love to ask the question, how do you become successful? How's your business, $5 million business, 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, billion. How did you become successful? And they usually, the first answer is usually like a pat answer. I was just lucky, or, right place, right time. Like, so then when you get into it, they actually will tell you the specific steps that it took for them to be successful. And when it comes down to it, so that's where I'm writing the book called The Prosper Formula. There's 7 items. It's an acronym, PROSPER. And more than likely, they're doing 3 to 5 to 7 of the items on that Prosper Formula. And that's how they became successful. So I'm like, hey, I should write a book about this, because I've interviewed thousands of successful business owners and probably hundreds of non-successful or ones that went out of business, and they're not doing that. So I just put the two together. They say, Brian Tracy says, success leaves clues. I wholeheartedly 100% agree. And all I'm doing is when I'm working with businesses, is I'm like, hey, here's the clues. Here's what somebody else did. There's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
I think if you do this and you do it well and consistently, you will be successful too. And that's usually the case.
I like that. So it's similar to Napoleon Hill, right? I mean, Think and Grow Rich, right? There are, success does leave clues. And sometimes I just had a conversation. It's funny you mentioned, I just had a conversation with someone, and we're trying to figure out what works best and, what's the secret to your success. And the gentleman, I'm not going to name names, but he just said, I just decided. And I go, well, all right. Talk to me a little bit more about it. I just decided to, put the distractions aside, focus on my current business, because he had owned other businesses that were just distracting him. He wasn't enjoying them, but he just decided to focus, use, and do the things he enjoyed. He was not a writer, so he stopped writing his blog. Blogs work, but he absolutely hated it. So he had the option of, using a company to help him with his blog, but in his case, he just loved video. So he just focused on video, and that's what he enjoys. So in his business, literally, I think grew 5 times from the previous year from 2020. So
that's amazing.
So you hear stuff like that, and he's like, and I work my ass off.
That's part of it. You got to do it.
But
so I think that I 100% like what you're saying. They finally, at the beginning, they always give you some pat answer, but then they start telling you like really what happened. I'm glad you drilled him a little bit more. Like, hey, what did you really do? Don't just give me this. I focus.
I just decided, and I'm like, okay, but I need a little bit more than that. But it's very interesting. We had a pretty lengthy conversation, and I don't want to take over the show with that, but it was interesting. So that's awesome. Looking forward to that read. So before the show, so we kind of talked about. I didn't realize to the extent. I know we had spoken in the past, but you have worked with a lot of people in the franchise industry. Franchise companies. And, a lot of people, when they look at a franchise, maybe it's their first franchise, they say, well, I'm assuming the franchise company will handle all my marketing. And in many cases, they will handle it at more of a national level. Not every company is the same. Some will just produce some assets for you to share. Others will take an approach where they'll create it on a national level for you to personalize at more of a local level. So talk to us about, who you work with, because I found that interesting, because most people assume that the franchise companies handle everything, but you actually work with the franchisee. So the owner at the local level. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, and to their credit, I mean, 10, 15, 20 years ago, even when, franchises, you didn't have to on a local level. You didn't have to really do your own marketing, because the franchisor would take care of all that, and it would trickle down. It doesn't work that way anymore, and it hasn't probably in the last 4 or 5 years. One, because competition's so much more fierce, but also, two, it's just you've got to localize things for Google's eyes, and we'll talk a lot about Google, but the Google bots and stuff, they don't care nationally anymore. They're all about local, and there's some national things they do care about, but in general, businesses, local brick and mortar SMB, small to business, medium businesses, they want it to be localized, and none of the stuff that's coming from the franchisor is going to be localized. So there's a disconnect there, and then you kind of have to fill in the blanks. Plus, I believe strongly, it's on my thing, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And if you don't have a personal brand, a personal person, if you're not shaking hands, kissing babies on a local level, at the chamber meetings and at the, Rotary meetings, you're missing out. And we help with some of that on a local level, like a public relations company would do. Most people can't afford a public relations company on a local level. Mm-hmm. So you have to have an element of that in there. So we just do partial, and that works very well. So like I said, the world is changing. So you have to market and localize your franchise, even if it is a national franchise. Now, the systems, the SOPs, all that stuff in place will just escalate if you localize it. Because it's there. It will work if you follow it, no doubt of it. But it'll take it to a whole nother level if you're marketing it on a local level, either yourself or with a local agency like us. And I've seen it time and time again. And that, like I said, success leaves clues, the same thing on a local level. So let me take that one step further. Yeah. What's really cool is, we work with, 75, 80 different franchisees. And when what happens is we see somebody kicking butt over here. It's so easy to say, hey, we can do the same thing over here. And, nothing to understand. And it's not competing, because it's a different market. They don't care. And so we can pull that same, whatever we're doing, and move it over, whether it's, social media ads, or if it's like SEO stuff, or even, pay-per-click stuff, or videos and things like that. So that's what's cool is, it kind of the rising tides lifts all yachts.
Right.
I say yachts. So that's what's going on with this. And I get to see it. It's hard to read the label from the inside of the bottle. I get to see it from the outside of the bottle. I'm like, I could see these guys over here successful. These guys are not. What's the difference? And that's where it comes from.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Marketing, I'll be honest, gets to be a little bit overwhelming, right? What does the word marketing even mean? And there's so many, there's so many different pieces to it. Do I have to blog every day? Do I have to post on social media every day? And I feel some of the industry, or maybe not industry experts, but marketing experts sometimes give you a canned response, and it should be the same for everyone. But can you talk to us a little bit more? Does a company selling like Johnson & Johnson selling, products versus someone in my business where we're no employees and we're working with people, helping them find a business? I feel sometimes the same advice is given to everyone. So can you help people kind of sift through the overwhelm and maybe a good starting point?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's a humongous difference between the national, local SMBs, and even breaking it down further from there, depending on what niche it's in. But so let me speak to that little differently. I am going to say there is a formula so that everybody can use, but that formula has a lot of room for moving. So here's the formula that I believe, and then I'm writing this in my book. So people do business with people. So let me stop there first. It's the word people. So it's not the machine, it's not corporate, it's not the firm, it's not the agency, it's people. They put on their pants one leg at a time, most of us, except for our buddy Paul. He's a little weird. He jumps in both feet. But
that's a whole nother show.
yeah, we'll leave that one out. Okay, but so and sometimes people lose that element when they're doing their marketing. They're just like talking to them, the machine is like all rigid and no, whoa, it's a person. And sometimes you need to pick up the phone and call them. Sometimes you need something. So there's all kinds of weird elements with that. So let me stop there. So people do business with people, and let's get that established. It's people, human beings, that they know, like, and trust. Okay, that's the first part of the formula: know, like, and trust. So the know factor is simply your circle of influence. So how many people know you as your circle of influence? We know in general by how many people know you on Facebook? How many friends do you have on Facebook? I have 300 friends on Facebook. Well, that's basically your circle of influence. And I'm being, I'm kind of stretching a little bit. That's probably about right. And some people have 2,000 friends on, and maybe you don't. So in my case, I don't friend anybody on Facebook unless I've talked to them like this, or I've shaken their hand. I'm real, it has to be kind of some sort of together. Now LinkedIn's different. I friend anybody, but people do business with people that know, like, and trust. So the know is, how do you grow your circle of influence? So step one, you want to grow your business, you got to grow your circle of influence. So that's why I'm saying it applies to everybody, whether you're Johnson & Johnson or you're the local, plumber that owns a Mr. Rooter or, whatever franchise. You still have to grow your circle of influence. And that's for you personally and your business. Second part, you have to get them to like you and trust you, because just because they know you doesn't mean they don't like you and trust you yet, right? So there's elements of that on a local level. To do that, you have to do cool things, help out philanthropically, donate this, volunteer your time, show up to chamber meetings, Rotary. And when I mentioned I'm a past president of my Rotary Club, which by the way is the best title, I sit back with the Blue Hairs. I mentioned that I'll be in Vegas teaching next week in Vegas, and there'll be 500 people in the audience, and I will always mention Rotary. How many people in Rotary? Like 80 people will be in Rotary in that meeting, and we have a bond, we have a connection, right? So people do business with they know, like, and trust. Immediately, we like and trust each other because of this Rotary connection. You can do the same thing with military. Who's here's retired military, all that stuff. So you have to purposely and specifically get them to like you and trust you. And there's lots of ways of doing that, but I'm just trying to tell you that's just part of the marketing formula: know, like, and trust. Then it keeps going from there. So people do business with people they know, like, and trust. It goes like this: know, like, trust, try, buy, evangelize. The try part means they'll dip their toe in the water. I'm gonna, let me check out this guy and let me read his book. Maybe that's the first thing they do is they buy my book, or buy your book for that matter. What is that? A $12, $20 purchase? I'm not gonna, give Giuseppe a lot of money. I just want to read his book, see if this guy really knows what he's talking about. And then what I'm trying to do is feel you out. Do I like you enough to maybe, to further this relationship? I'm trying you. But guess what happens? I read your book. Man, this guy knows what he's doing. He's helped out a lot of people. And I see him tied to other people I may know, influencers. So now I trust him and like him. I'm going to buy him. So the second, try, buy means buy deep. So we work with a lot of, over the years, a lot of financial advisors. And they're always like, well, they only gave me like 10% of their assets. I'm like, you're crazy to think they're going to get anything else, because they don't know you yet. They don't necessarily like you and trust you. They're going to try you. So just accept that that's part of the, the next step. And then eventually they'll buy you, meaning they'll give you all their assets. Well, the same thing in any business. So when I'm trying, let's say I own a Jimmy John's franchise, which I got one next door. That's what makes me think of it. Talk to that guy and they got to try it one time. And then, so they're giving sampling, they're giving coupons or even free items at a ballpark or at a thing. They'll come bring free food for sampling. And you can do this in every business somewhere or another. You can sample, because they're relying on that you're going to have a good experience. And you go, you know what? I'm going to go back. That place was actually really good. Great service, quick service, and all that stuff. So you pick a service. I don't care what it is. You got to have a way to get them to try you, and then ultimately knock it out of the park. Blow it away. Like, you can't screw that up. By the way, and Chick-fil-A is a good example. If you've ever used a coupon at Chick-fil-A, they actually say thank you for using a coupon, which is crazy. Now, I've had the opposite experience where I had a coupon, went in, and they treated me like I was scum for using it. And they were trying not to, this doesn't qualify. And I'm like, man, I'll never go back there because I had a bad experience. Right. So anyway, the try part, you need to make sure everybody's on board that they're trying it, because you want them to come back and buy. Know, like, trust, try, buy, evangelize. And evangelize just simply means they're going to tell their friends, hey, you got to use my buddy Eddie. Giuseppe's the man. I mean, I'm telling you, if you're looking to change in your life and you need to talk to him, he's going to help you out, right? They're telling people, and also the reviews and reputation it comes with that too. But evangelize just means concern. So I believe that formula, know, like, trust, try, buy, evangelize, can be, systematized, and that's part of our marketing packages. Each of our packages address each of those elements,
right.
And we push people through it. And some people are just better at it naturally than others. But so to answer your question, there is a formula, but it has a lot of broad appeal on that. And you were very specific on like, hey, it is different for this one versus this one. Yes, it is. But ultimately, that's what we're trying to do is get them through that little formula. Know, like, trust, try, buy, evangelize. Hope that answered your question a little bit. But
yeah, no, it was very helpful, and it's reassuring, right, that there is a process to it, because sometimes you just don't know where to start, especially if you're doing it yourself. And to your point, I think I read this. I don't know if it was an article or webinar, but they said there's no B2B, there's no B2C. That's the old way of thinking. It's H to H, and I'm like, what the heck?
Human to human.
And I'm like, human to human, and I'm just like, oh yeah, you know what? That is true. And they're like, let's break this all down. When you meet someone and talk to someone, which is what obviously COVID put a lot of stuff on the back burner with in-person meetings, including our last couple of conferences were virtual. Yeah. But it's like, how do you greet someone? You shake their hand, you make eye contact, you do all this kind of stuff. But yet on LinkedIn, I get a 5-paragraph pitch on what the person did before hello. And it's like, do you do that when you meet someone? And people are like, absolutely not. Then why the heck are you doing it on LinkedIn? So it's
exactly that is
isn't that it? Yeah, just
example.
Is that kind of weird?
If you come back to just a normal person, you'll be amazed how much you'll sell and how many referrals you'll get and friends you'll meet. And because you're true, it's ethical. You're not sleight of hand. There's no motive except for, hey, I just want to get to know more people and help them. And if that's what I'm telling you, your business will be successful. But so I love it. So like growing the circle of influence. I don't want to. That can't be fake, because you got to get them to like and trust you too. So that's got to be genuine as well, because people know shady people. They just know it. And exactly what you said on if they're, hey, I'd like to get together with you and have a 30-minute conversation about whatever. I'm like, I don't know. You probably get 30 a day. I get 30 a day.
I get a lot. Yeah,
it's not happening. Yeah, but another conversation. I get introduced by a friend. My buddy Paul says, hey, you got to meet Giuseppe. This guy's making it happen. I'm like, all right, I do want to meet him. So that's kind of how we met. And I'm very appreciative to have you in my circle of influence now, because there's a bunch of people I would love to refer to you, because I know you're going to take care of them, and you meet a demand and a service that is needed, and you're going to take care of them, which is perfect.
I appreciate that. And same here. And to your point, referrals, I have a referral coach coming up. She's actually in a week or 2 weeks.
Great.
And so we spoke briefly, and we talked about, it's like, well, whenever I needed, my water heater went a couple of weeks ago, and it's like, did I go on Google? No, I put a text out on Facebook, or put a message out on Facebook, and look for the same name coming up more than once. Who can help? Texted a couple of friends of mine. So when it comes down to referrals, I'm not saying referrals and it's just referrals and that's it. Obviously, there's going to be some social media posts and things like that. Unless your business can survive on just referrals, that would be great. But how do you stay in touch with those people? Do you thank them? Just a simple thank you. Hey, I appreciate you, referring so and so to me. And I think most people do a poor job, including myself. And we talked about ways of improving that. So again, back to human. If someone refers you, don't you naturally say, hey, it doesn't have to be money. Hey, thank you for sending this plumber.
Yeah.
He was great. He fixed my water heater same day and everything is great. So I think we forget that.
And people will refer you a couple times, but if you screw up that referral, right? Let's say you don't call them back, and it's their reputation. Like when they refer you, and if you screw up, so you got to be real careful and treat that as gold. Hey, my buddy referred this to me, and then that way if you treat it with, like I was saying, this great respect, they'll send you more referrals.
Right.
But the flip of that, they won't. They're like, I gave him a referral, he didn't follow up, and people do that all the time.
Right.
So you got to be careful. But referrals is a big key part of it because there's a human element in it. People trying to do business with people they can trust. Well, they like and trust that friend that referred you, right? Mm-hmm. So they don't know you yet, but you're tied to them just by that referral. So they're still filling you out. And if you follow through and help out, and then like, cool, my friend hooked me up. I'm going to hook him up. So it is a circle. It could be an upward spiral, but it also could be a downward spiral if you're not following it up. But
right,
for sure.
You in the beginning of the show, we talked about standard operating procedures, and you have a lot of clients in the franchise business. Not all your clients, but you had mentioned. I don't know if I could say the number, but a large number of
75 around that. I mean, I didn't count. I should have counted for it. 75 to 80. Franchise. We're not a preferred vendor for franchisors yet, but we have filled out the paperwork, and then there's a big vetting system. But yeah, for sure, I definitely enjoy that market, that niche.
And why is that? Do you is it the systems? It kind of, I guess, talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, what's cool is I can say this to you because hopefully none of my clients will be watching your podcast. It comes down to, no offense, and I mean this in the nicest possible way. Most people, and you know this better than I do, when they buy a franchise, or let's say they make a business, a lot of business owners, the reason why they're in business is because they got fired because they couldn't do the business they're in, and so they had to go on their own. So like, hey, I got fired and I needed to start a business to create some money, which is fine. That sometimes works out. But the other side of it, like you said, they got sick of the corporate world. You know what? I got a little nest egg here. I want to start my own business and move it over and buy a franchise or create a business. Mm-hmm. Both of those people, the same is not, their goal in life wasn't to be an entrepreneur in the beginning. So most of our business owners that we work with are, they don't have business degrees. They come from a different corporate background. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, I don't even know what the percentage is. Very high percentage, over 50%. So we're working with them to help them be successful. Now, I am not a business coach. And so if you're screwing up the fundamentals, like my marketing is only going to speed up what you're doing, which is screwing everything up, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll just put you out of business faster because you'll have more people come. They'll have a bad experience, and then that referral or that reputation will go and tell everybody else. So marketing just will speed up what's happening inevitably. However, with the franchise, that's not the case, because if they're following the system, they have all the other things in order. They know how to greet a customer. They know how to fulfill. They know how to follow up. They know how to follow through. They know how to give a proposal and make sure they don't drop the ball. I mean, you'd be amazed where there's 15 places where they can drop the ball. And then also follow up with at the end, asking for a referral, all those things that you should be doing, but most business owners don't know what to do. But if you buy a franchise, all that's in place. All that is in place, and I don't have to worry about that. As a marketer, I don't want to worry about that because I'm not your coach, right? So, and that's why I do truly love working with franchisees, because those standing operating procedures are in place. If they're following them, I'm not saying 100% of them follow them, but if they're following them, I know I can make them successful just by bringing in more leads to the top of the funnel, because the rest of the funnel's in place, right?
Right.
So I guess I'm biased on that, but that's not the case with people who don't own a franchise and they're just winging it, trying to figure it out. I'm like, well, why didn't you follow up? And so we have call tracking on all of our ads. Mm-hmm. And so we know how many leads they're getting. And I'm like, well, you only closed 3 and you had 22 phone calls. We have a bunch of lawyers and, roofers and plumbers and HVAC. We got everything. And then the lawyers they're not taking the calls. And they're like, oh, I need more cases. I'm like, well, you had 24 legitimate leads. What happened to them? And they didn't follow up. They didn't even answer the phone. It went to voicemail, but we have it all recorded. And I'm like, look, I'm not your business coach, but if I was, I would chew your butt saying you need to follow up with these. And you can pay me a lot more to be your coach, but I mean, you're not going to like the conversation. Right. So in other words, they're trying to blame me that they need more marketing. I need more leads. Like, no, you don't need more leads. You need to follow up with the leads.
Right.
and follow through. And they don't have systems. They don't, they got somebody answer the phone, here and there. Nobody answers on the weekends, but their ads are running on the weekends, which makes no sense. Okay. Anyway, I can go off on that a lot.
That was actually a topic at our last conference. It's like, to your point, some of the companies have brought in a call center because they said, we're generating more leads than you know what to do with. But if you're not answering the phone, they've noticed, because they've been started tracking everything. Some people, they find you on Google, per your efforts.
Yeah.
They call you, you don't pick up. What do? In many cases, they don't leave that voicemail. It's just a hang up, and they go to number 2 on Google. And
we're in a microwave mentality. I got 38 seconds, and if you're not answering, I'm moving. We used to be crock pot mentality,
right?
But now, I got to move on. Especially a plumber or even a lawyer. These some of these are crises, and they, I ain't got a week to wait. I need to talk to somebody now. Yep.
I have water in my basement. I'm not waiting for you to call me back. I'm just going to the next. And they've noticed that. So to your point, right? It's someone at our conference talked about chains, links in a chain, right? It's like, well, it's the lead. It's like, no, you have a number of leads. They're good quality from the leads you've spoken with, but is someone answering the phone? Or when you're talking to those people, are you following up after the proposal? Like, is it, where is it? Where's the break, basically? And it may be a couple breaks. So going back and analyzing that.
I love it. You just literally described the Prosper formula. So the Prosper formula, PROSPER, which I don't have time to go through everything, but is exactly that. It's the links. And, I know like the podcast won't be able to see this, but P stands for prospects. And so do you have enough prospects? And so if that holds true, then we move to the next one, which is ratio of closed sales. In other words, how's your closing ratio? Are you closing them? 3 is average order. What's your average order, and can we increase that? 4 is sales frequency. How often are they buying, and can you get them to come back more often? And then productivity. This is the operations side of thing. Are you how productive are you, and are you efficient? And some people are out very non-efficient, not effective. And then expenses. Are your expenses in line? And that's the E in the Prosper formula, which those can get real crazy. And then the last one's retention. And I believe retention is the new acquisition. 20 years ago you can burn and churn, but that last R, retention, is hugely important to retain your clients and get them back because of the referrals and all the things we just talked about. So that's the Prosper formula. And if you increase everyone, except for the expenses, you decrease that by 3%. If you just do 2 to 4 of these, increase them by 3 to 5%, you double your net profit.
Oh, wow.
And it's just mathematically, we have a bunch of accountants. And so I teach the accountants this, and they're trying to teach their clients. I'm like, just increase your prospects by 5%. Increase your closing ratio by 5%, increase your average order by 5%, which, if I have a $100 order and now it's 105, like if I'm a hair salon, my average hair thing is $100. Actually, my wife's like 150. So anyway, if you increase it by $5, 5%, and then you sell how often they buy. Okay. I get my hair done every 3 months. Now they're doing it every two months and 20 days. You increase that frequency just a little bit by 5%. And then your productivity, increase that. You decrease your expenses by 5%. You'll double your net profit if you just do 4 of those. If you just do 3 to 4 of those.
It's very interesting.
That's what we do all day long. We work with businesses, and we're like, I'm coming back to where you were talking about. Where's your weakest link? You're killing it in leads. You're doing great in leads, and you're once you get those leads, you have a great upsell, side sell, up. You're doing all the things in the process, but man, your expenses are crazy out of whack. Or whatever, or your retention. They come with you and they buy you twice, and then they never come back. So there's a problem there. So we're finding that weak link, and then we're addressing it and go from there. But usually it's more than one can be improved upon.
Right.
But
and you need to spend the time with that, because a lot of people I need more leads. Well, someone said, "Oh, how many leads do you need?" 1,000. How many people can you talk to? I'm a one man company, so it's like, what? I can't talk to 100 new leads every month.
You have a closing ratio problem.
Right.
You suck at sales. They're not qualified leads, and that's an issue too. It could be you got plenty of leads, but they're just not qualified right. So sometimes you have to change your marketing on that.
We have that. Yeah, we have that as well. You need money to buy a franchise. There's no secret. So it's not a no money down scheme, right? It's you gotta buy the franchise. You got to pay the fee, and that's our case. It's the expectation that you can buy it with no money down. So
yeah, yep. I mean, I love your thinking, and just the whole process of that means that if there is a weak chain or weak link in the chain, narrow it down. This is not rocket science. Nothing new. Like I said, I mean, we're not just inventing this. It's not 100 years ago when businesses were all volatile.
Right.
These things are easily trackable, especially with technology nowadays. I think his name is John Wanamaker in 1922. He's the one that he had like 10 stores and it turned into Macy's. He sold it to Macy's. But he said, 50% of all my advertising works. I just don't know which 50%. And I'm like, what a great quote for 1922. But that is not the case nowadays.
Right.
I mean, now it's not definitive. And I like the word definitive. I want to definitively know that my dollars I spent on marketing brought me $2 back or $10, or it brought me back 90 cents. Now we're close though. I mean, I think within the next few years, we'll definitively know with, like I said, call tracking is dynamic now. It's all changes dynamically online. And then of course, you could even put call tracking on billboards or TV or whatever. So we got it pretty close if you need a phone call. So like if you're a chiropractor, dentist, lawyer, plumber, all those people need phone calls. Now, if you're a store, e-commerce store, it's a little harder. But what's really cool is we have GPS tracking now, and all those ads are tracked. You can run, and Google's tracking this. You run a pay-per-click ad, and they come into your store. They know that you came in the store. It's triggered. We can see that as one of the conversion points, and we know that ad brought them into your store. Pretty cool. So, like I said, it's not quite definitive yet, but it's close. Right. So there's no excuse for you not to be able to, each of these elements, that's just marketing side of it, but each of these elements to be able to track, monitor, and improve upon.
That's very interesting. Yeah, that's right. With the technology we have today, everything is trackable. I did, not to go off topic, but I did, there was a study, there was a company specifically in our industry, and it says that, any new person you talk to, they're 80% down the buyer's journey. So, I'll talk to people and they'll know about me and they're very informed. And I said, well, have you done research? It's like, oh yeah, we read your book or listened to 5 episodes of your podcast before contacting you. But on my end, and I'm a small, as I mentioned, I'm just on my own. When I'll ask them, well, where initially did you find me? I found you online. Well, everything is found online. Yep. Even the podcast can be listened to online. But was it a podcast? Was it an ad? Which I don't do ads, but was it a blog? How did you come across me? And they're never really certain. They just said, we absorbed all this info.
Yep.
You talk about trust, right? We felt like we could trust you. We know you because I'm not the only person that does this. And then we reached out to you. We set up a 20-minute call on your calendar. So I found that interesting that 80% was done. I was shocked. And that number,
that's a lot
from the study, was 50 or 60%, 5-10 years. I forget how far back the study went. So they're absorbing more info. Yeah.
And people are more informed than ever, right? I mean, we at our thumb tips, not even our fingertips, at our thumb tips, we have a massive amount of information we can find out anytime. Yeah. And so, like, who is this guy? How would he do it? And, of course, Google is a big part of that. That's why they're $1 trillion with a $1 trillion company to help you find information. And so we're not uneducated anymore. And just like you said, you can throw it out on Facebook and say, hey, I need a lawn care guy. Wow, that comes back. I mean, you may have 30, 40. It's pretty amazing. I call those evangelists. Everybody who's posting is an evangelist for that. Remember that's what we're trying to get them to do. Like, hey, look at your evangelists. These are the people that are evangelizing for you. But that world is all in the last, I guess 5 to 10 years. I mean, that world didn't exist 10 years ago, but it's there today. And so we need to go with it and understand that's how business is done today.
Yeah, it's changing. Yeah, it's changing. I have a graduate degree. If I can talk today, one of my concentrations was marketing. Social media wasn't around, when, so basically I mean, there's some principles obviously, but just the whole aspect of social media, how to maximize that wasn't even an option. And that's where so many people may find us. So it's changed dramatically, and you really need to kind of stay on top of things. Eddie, this has been great. We've covered a lot, and I want to be respectful of your time. So, did you mention when the book will be out?
Well, so I write like I speak, which is not great. And so my editor, she it'll take her 5 or 6 weeks. My last book, she had 5,800 edits. And they were not grammatical errors or spellings or commas. These were like sentence structure stuff that, so, I write like I speak. So, which is fine. She makes me sound a lot smarter. So it's going to take another 6 weeks or so. The book is formatically done. She's ready. My publisher has mentioned I need to tell a couple more stories. He likes my stories, which, books are better with stories. So I probably need that. So the long answer, make it longer. I want to launch by April. Soft launch. We call it a soft launch. And then, of course, I'm a marketing guy, so I'll just be frank. I'm going to be an Amazon bestseller because I can buy that. You can buy ads and put people to buy it. But I'm trying to get on New York Times and, the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. That's a lot harder. You have to sell 10,000 in a 5-day period. And I'm going for that one too. So we're gonna have a system in place. So that probably won't happen until May. But the soft launch would be the end of April. I mean, that was a long-winded answer, but I think it's relevant. I mean, obviously you have a book too, and you understand what's happening there. But the book to me is critical because it's the Prosper Formula. It's basically just like my beliefs like I was telling you, and how to help business owners. But I think it's a good step and a good start for people to realize that there is a system they can put in place, and they can just check the boxes. Am I doing this? Am I doing this? Am I doing this?
Awesome. No, that's and I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to the book and definitely catching up again. So that's awesome. So if someone wants to contact you, they want additional information. Where do they start?
Well, Eddie at Prosperous IM, like internet marketing, .com is my main one. I have also Eddie at Prosper Formula, prosperformula.com, prosperformula.net. I've been doing some challenges and some free trainings on the prosperformula.net if you want to check that out. But so those are kind of the two main ones. I don't know if I mentioned it. My first book was called Prosperous Christian. And it was, I have a whole following on that. That's for Christian business professionals. It's me teaching business tactics to Christians. I'm not preaching to business owners. So if that makes sense. That's a whole nother, I have a whole nother flock there. That's fantastic and kind of go down that line. So prosperouschristian.com. And, I think that's probably enough to get a hold of me.
Awesome. No, just, if someone wants to read up or look at a book first before contacting you. So, great resources. We'll include everything in the show notes, so everyone can get a hold of you. Eddie, I really, really appreciate your time. This has been, it's been fun. It's been informative, and, looking forward to catching up again when the book's out.
Well, I appreciate you tremendously. And, thanks again for having me on. If there's something I can do for you, I mean this honestly, if I could give you a referral, I will. Absolutely. I'll send them your way.
I appreciate it.